Yes, there is somebody there.
Sir, you have either forgotten or failed to mention about the Madras Art Club. We were a bunch of Sunday painters consisting of a lone chartered accountant like me and consulate man A.V. Dhanushkodi and others. Used to really enjoy the company of others and the period we spent there. Man K.C.S. Panikar, Redappan Naidu, Santam Raj and others used to peep in and give some comments. And even a man like this, Gauri Shankar, I think, he's from a Stapati family. He honed his skills and made a big name for himself in modern sculptures. Of course, it's quite some time. I went to Kerala and forgot about arts and all that, but it's redeeming. It's a pleasure that I am now connected with some animation companies where I see a bit of art.
Now, I forgot to mention that. It's a very interesting thing which Panikkar created in the School of Arts and Crafts when he was principal, was an art club. That art club, twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, they were they were working between 5:30 and 7:30 in the evening. So which enabled a lot of people who could not join the art school to come there and practice art. And we had professional, teachers from various departments to go there and teach these people. And some of the people who have made very big successes like Achyutan Kodalur, Balan Nambiar, they made, Dhanushkodi. All these people, they were all product of this art club. So that was one thing which Panikkar felt that they need to, for the people to come and study art there. So one thing is that perhaps that was one of those fantastic periods in the life of Chennai.
I think there's one last question.
Actually, it's a very interesting perspective that you were giving with regard to, you asked the question, where did those guys go who were there in the boom period, the bust period? The serious buyer has been continuing to buy whether it's boom or the bust. I don't think the downturn of the economy has in any way affected them. My question to you is, but all the same, the journey of the artist, the journey through life has never been possibly very easy. So the fact that you've climbed the peaks of success, does it kind of restrict you from experimenting because you wouldn't want to fiddle around with the market? Or do you dare to experiment, do you continue to experiment and you want to, your creativity not to be limited by economic factors?
I think I am not at all bothered about the market, really, seriously speaking. And I think I do experiment, and the result of my shows in both Bombay and Delhi recently, December I had a show in Bombay, and January just 2 weeks ago. And they were saying, what a change you have already made, in terms of my techniques, in terms of my presentation, and everything possible. So, for me, it doesn't matter. And I never bothered about creating something during the boom period or recession period. And for me, it's sort of you face your canvas, you face your paper, and you start working. And market doesn't even bother. Market is only secondary thing. If something sells, it's fine. If it doesn't sell also, we can manage it. But because, if we depend on this market, then it will dictate. It's a very dangerous move for me, I feel. Yeah.
That's a very reassuring thing to hear, Vasudev. Thank you so much.
One question.
There is one question from...
I noticed a lot of your slides, there were some tapestries there. So I was just wondering why you have translated your art into tapestry. Tapestries don't sell very well.
Yeah. The thing is that, I have always tried to experiment extending my art to various things. And particularly when we started Cholamandala Artist Village, we wanted to do some learn crafts and extend our art to crafts. And so I learned copper work, and then so I tried to do something in copper. And then I was always interested in the tapestry. Whenever I went abroad, I saw contemporary tapestry, traditional tapestry, and everything. And fortunately, 17 years ago, I could find a weaver who could sort of, work with me. And so it's a collaboration which we have done for the last 17 years. And it is mainly translating my painting to tapestry. It's not that I don't paint for tapestry. I do translating because it's some of them are very exciting for me. And what I do is when it comes to tapestry, I could sort of change the colors. Few changes I could make there. And here is a fantastic weaver, the master weaver, who adjusts to all these sort of things. And it is he who told me, sir, please don't paint for tapestry. You please just give me whatever paintings you want to, and then I will work to your level.
So you gave your
Sorry, excuse me. We're going to have to cut it short. We'll have time afterwards if you'd like to stay and speak to Vasudev, but we have a wonderful and very talented artist here and one more presentation. I ask you all to stay. I know it's almost lunchtime, but please do stay through this presentation because it would be important to do so and see Paula's work. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That's okay.
No. Thank you so much, Vasudev. And I'm sorry to cut short the questions as well, but we do need to listen to Paula now. And we've introduced her, and we think the slides are in place. And, we can continue to stay and talk after that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try not to test your hunger pangs too much. So, as I was saying, I started out as a printmaker. And in the late 90s, I started making artists' books using image and text, which occur simultaneously for me and form a very integral part of my work. They tend to be of equal importance and occur simultaneously for me in my thought process. So during a residency that I did in the late 90s, I actually discovered the letterpress, the very, very traditional way of printing text. And for me, it was very exciting as a printmaker because the kind of tactility that you get from the letterpress is really not available in any technologically advanced means of printing text. So that led me to making these artist books. I have a great love for the narrative, for the art of storytelling, and that forms to a very, very large extent the basis of my practice and the things that interest me. So I tend to gather stories as I go along, and I'm often told that I'm a very risky kind of person to be with because you never know when a little story that you've told me might surface somewhere in some gallery. And so people who know me well are sometimes wary of me and don't tell me too much. But I have this habit of gathering stories from friends, from relatives, from people I don't know, and I just like talking to people, and then I weave them into little narratives that tend to be part fiction and part fact, and so the practice of bookmaking was a first step in uniting the text and the print. The format of these books stems to a large extent from the many, many printed, illustrated books that I explored in the process of my PhD, which, as I was saying, was on the history of printmaking in India and the emergence of the printed picture in its own right from the book illustration. So in the process of doing this, I handled a lot of very rare and beautifully illustrated books in mediums such as etching, lithography, wood engraving, and so on.